To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.
Now we are going to start the third chapter of this lesson, children. So do you remember what we learned in the first two chapters? In the first chapter, we learned about what are the different layers of the atmosphere and their differences. And the second chapter, we learned how the pressure and temperature changes throughout the atmosphere. Okay. So here we are going to start this chapter with air and its components. Now, atmosphere contains different types of gases. Okay, so atmosphere or air, it is a mixture of gases. Okay, so troposphere is the most important atmospheric layer for living beings on Earth. This is where we live. We do all the other activities, all the biological activities take place in this layer only. Right, children? Therefore, troposphere is the most important atmospheric layer for us out of all 5 layers. Okay, right. So the following table and the figure show the components of the troposphere. The table is given here and here given the chart. Okay, right. So look at this table. Now remember, so the percentages are given here. Even though the percentages are given here, now we are going to write the percentages here. Even though the percentages are given here, remember children, from time to time, place to place, these percentages change. Okay, so even here, all these percentages are given, but remember, all these percentages of different gases, they change from time to time and place to place too. Right? Okay. So look at this one. Gas is given here. Volume as percentage is also given this side. We have to write it down. Nitrogen. When you consider the atmosphere, the most abundant gas in the atmosphere is nitrogen. So what is the percentage, children? It's about 78% of the entire volume of air. Right? 78%. Okay. Oxygen is the next gas which is abundant. Okay. That is about 21%. Right. 78% and 21% makes 99%. What about the other 1%? It contains all these other gases. Argon, carbon dioxide, water vapor and other gases. Now here other gases means hydrogen, helium, krypton, xenon. Those type of gases contained here under the other gases. Okay, so trace amounts of those gases too. So argon, carbon dioxide, water vapor, other gases, they all make the last 1% of the atmosphere. Right, children? Nitrogen 78%. Oxygen 21%, argon, carbon dioxide, water vapor and other gases make the other 1% of the atmosphere. Okay, children. So the same thing is represented as a graph in the next one. Right? Percentage of gases in the troposphere. Nitrogen 78%, the most abundant gas. And then oxygen 21%. And the other amount of gases included 1% of the entire troposphere. Okay, right. So nitrogen and oxygen are the main components in the troposphere. But remember, even earlier I explained y'all, even though we learned all these percentages, they don't remain the same. Right, children? They don't remain the same. They change from place to place. Okay. Right, we'll move on to the next. Right. So on the extra knowledge part, the importance, the factors about these different gases in the atmosphere is given. Right. So factors are given here. Even though they are given on the extra knowledge part, this is very important. Therefore, we are going to learn these things too. Okay. So the most abundant gas is nitrogen. Nitrogen is the most abundant gas in the air. Under atmospheric conditions, it has low reactivity, which means under normal conditions, nitrogen does not react much. Okay, it is less reactive, low reactivity. So because of this reason, nitrogen gas is used to fill in the food packets. Sometimes you must have seen sometimes those chips packets and all. The packet is filled with air. So normal air is not filled in this one because the normal air contains all the other gases like water vapor, which can make the food become soggy. So therefore, we use the less reactive gas, that is nitrogen. Okay, children, because it does not react with food, it can keep the food fresh and it is not unhealthy too, right? The next abundant gas is oxygen. Now, oxygen is the most important gas for us. We cannot live without oxygen, right? So, the most important gas in the air is oxygen. It is essential for respiration. Do you remember in grade 6 we learn about respiration, right? Respiration is the process of producing energy in our body. There, what happens when we eat food? Those nutrients react inside the body, inside our cells. Those nutrients we take react with the oxygen we inhale, and then energy is produced. Right, children? So, oxygen is necessary for combustion too. So, it is essential for respiration. Right? Oxygen is necessary for combustion too. Right? So, in order to burn something, oxygen in the air is very important. If there's no oxygen, we cannot burn anything. Combustion won't take place. Okay, oxygen necessary for combustion too. So where there is oxygen, combustion increases. Therefore, it is known as support of combustion. Right, children? Therefore, it is introduced as a supporter of combustion. Right? So, oxygen gas can be separated from air. Oxygen gas has many uses. So, we can separate oxygen gas. We can even produce them separately due to certain chemical reactions. So, we can separate this oxygen from air and fill them in gas cylinders, store them in gas cylinders, and these oxygen cylinders are very important in certain instances. You know what are the instances now, right? For patients, in ICUs, for patients to breathe, oxygen cylinders are important. What else, children? Right? Oxygen gas has many uses. So, to aid patients with respiratory difficulties, okay, to provide oxygen artificially, we need these stored oxygen. For welding and cutting metals using oxyacetylene flame. In order to cut metals, we have to use a special type of flame called oxyacetylene flame. In order to get this flame, we have to use oxygen gas, right? For divers and astronauts, they need, because when they dive, and even the space for astronauts, those are the places with now in the space there's no oxygen at all. When you are deep diving, the amount of oxygen dissolved in deep water is very, very less. Therefore, you have to take your own oxygen cylinder, right? So, for them also, we need this stored oxygen, right, children? So, very simply, we cannot live without oxygen, right? Okay. The next one is argon. So, argon is the third most common atmospheric gas. The most common one is nitrogen, then oxygen, then argon, right? This is an inert gas. Inert gas means, so again known as noble gas too. Under normal conditions, this gas does not react with anything at all, right? Under normal conditions, it does not react at all. What about nitrogen? Nitrogen is less reactive, right? But nitrogen reacts in certain ways, but nitrogen is less reactive. But argon does not react at all under normal conditions. Right, children? Okay, so it does not have any chemical reactions with any other elements. Therefore, it is used for many purposes. What are these purposes? To fill filament bulbs. What are the filament bulbs? You all remember, we have discussed about filament bulbs before, right? So, filament bulbs have these type of tungsten filament. So when the filament gets heated up, to fill this inside the bulb, there should be, we can't take normal air. What is the reason, children? Normal air contains oxygen, right? Oxygen is a support of combustion. So when we provide electricity, this coil or this filament gets heated up. Because of the heat, when oxygen present in a place where it gets heated up, right, what will happen? It will catch fire. Right? Combustion takes place. Therefore, we should never use those type of reactive gases like oxygen to fill these bulbs. So, in order to fill these bulbs, we have to use different types of noble gases or inert gases, or the gases that don't react with anything else under normal conditions. So, argon is one type of gas. Another gas is neon. Right, children? So, to fill filament bulbs, we use argon gas, right? To produce electric lamps which emit orange light, when there is argon gas, it emits orange light in these type of lamps, okay? So based on that color also we take. And then the next gas is carbon dioxide. Now we all know that during respiration, we inhale oxygen, and using oxygen and the nutrients, we produce energy. Do you remember what we learned in grade 6, children? We'll simply write down, right? Oxygen plus nutrients produce energy plus another thing. What is that, children? What is the other one? Carbon dioxide gas. Carbon dioxide. Right? So when we exhale, this carbon dioxide goes out of our body. Right? Carbon dioxide should be removed from our body. This carbon dioxide goes out of our body, is given to the environment when we exhale. Right? What is the importance of carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide is important for photosynthesis of plants. Do you remember we learned that there are 4 factors affecting photosynthesis? Carbon dioxide gas in the atmosphere, sunlight, chlorophylls and soil water. So without carbon dioxide gas, plants cannot produce their own food, or they cannot do photosynthesis, right? So carbon dioxide is essential for photosynthesis, right, in green plants. This gas is used to extinguish fire. Now, without oxygen, combustion won't take place, right? Oxygen is one essential factor for combustion. Therefore, oxygen is known as the support of combustion. What about carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide is used to put out fire, right? So, in fire extinguishers, carbon dioxide gas is used, because when we spray carbon dioxide, we can extinguish a fire. Okay, so this gas is used to extinguish fire, and it helps to maintain the temperature on the earth. Extinguish fire, right? So temperature of the earth. So apart from these two important importances, carbon dioxide gas has the ability to trap air in the heat in the atmosphere. Right, children? So basically, you all know that the earth gets heated up due to sunlight. If this is the earth and if this is the atmosphere, right? So the sunlight that reaches the earth bounces back by the earth's surface and goes to the space again. Right, children? But sometimes some of these sunlight, some of the sun's rays are trapped by the carbon dioxide and some other gases in the atmosphere. Right, children? So because of that, the heat will trap inside the atmosphere. This heat is very important to maintain life. Just imagine if there is no atmosphere, all the sunlight that comes to the earth will get reflected back to the space. So because of this reason, during the daytime, The earth will, if there's no atmosphere, what will happen? During the daytime, the earth will get heated up, and during the night time, because there's no atmosphere to trap the heat, the earth will get frozen, right? Because there's no sunlight, right? But because atmosphere is present, these air particles, especially carbon dioxide gas and some other air particles also participate in this, right? So especially carbon dioxide can trap some of the heat waves coming from the sun, right? Therefore, because of that trapped amount of heat, we can maintain life. We have to maintain a certain amount of constant amount of temperature in our bodies. Animals also have to maintain their body temperatures, right? So all the biological activities take place in a certain amount of temperature. In order to maintain that temperature, it's very important to trap a certain amount of heat coming from the sun. So that is basically done by the carbon dioxide gas. Okay, so carbon dioxide is essential for photosynthesis, to extinguish fire, and it helps to maintain the temperature on the earth. Maintain the temperature on the earth. Right, children? So carbon dioxide composition is higher in exhaled gas than in inhaled gas. Right? We inhale the atmospheric air. It has less amount of carbon dioxide, but when we exhale, because of this process inside our body, carbon dioxide gas is produced. Therefore, when we exhale air, what happens? It has more carbon dioxide gas than that of the other gases. Okay, children? Right, we'll move on to the next. Right. So our next topic is functions of the atmosphere. So what are the functions? Now we already know that atmosphere has many gases. So when we think of the importance of these gases, we can think about the functions of the atmosphere too, right, children? So let's go through this. So the atmosphere provides the oxygen needed for the respiration of all animals and plants. Right, children? Because of the presence of the atmosphere, our planet is special. Right? Other planets, even though they have atmospheres, they don't have oxygen. Right, children? That is why there's no life recorded on those planets yet. Right, children? So it's very important to have oxygen in order to respirate, in order to produce energy in our body. So our atmosphere is special. The Earth's atmosphere is special because it has oxygen in it. Okay? So therefore, number one, the atmosphere provides oxygen needed for the respiration of all animals and plants. Not only animals, plants also do respiration. Plants also inhale oxygen and remove carbon dioxide produced during respiration, right? So for that purpose, oxygen is essential. Because our atmosphere has oxygen, the main function of the atmosphere is providing oxygen, right? So if the atmosphere disappears, we will all die without oxygen. Okay? Number two, plants get carbon dioxide from the atmosphere for photosynthesis. Another gas present in the atmosphere is carbon dioxide. It is an essential factor for photosynthesis. So if plants do not get carbon dioxide, it cannot do photosynthesis. So therefore, without food, plants will die. So if plants die, what will happen? Because all the other animals directly or indirectly depend on plants. We have learned all these things now, right? So you know that all the animals depend directly or indirectly. So when we consider herbivores, herbivores directly depend on plants, and the other animals, they indirectly depend on plants, right? So if all the plants disappear without doing photosynthesis, what will happen, children? All the animals also will eventually die. Right, children? Okay, number three. Nitrogen. Nitrogen is the most abundant gas in the atmosphere, right? Nitrogen, which is a very important element for the growth of plants, is provided to the soil by the atmosphere. So basically during lightning, the atmospheric nitrogen is given to the soil, right? During lightning, this nitrogen gas present in the atmosphere is given to the soil, and So when nitrogen is present in soil, soil becomes rich because nitrogen is one essential factor for plant growth. Okay, children? So if a certain soil contains nitrogen, it makes the soil rich and it provides nutrients to the plants. Okay, therefore, nitrogen, which is a very important element for the growth of plants, is provided to the soil by the atmosphere. Okay, number 4. Heat, light, and ultraviolet rays of the sun fall on Earth through the atmosphere. The ozone layer protects the Earth from exposure to these harmful rays. Right? Not only heat and light, harmful UV rays or ultraviolet rays also falls on the Earth. But in between, on its way, the atmosphere contains, the stratosphere contains this ozone layer. Ozone layer absorbs these harmful ultraviolet rays and therefore UV rays will not reach the Earth and therefore we will not get harmful effects caused by these UV rays. Right? So the ozone layer protects the Earth from exposure to these harmful rays. Ozone layers present in the atmosphere. Right? Next one. 5. The atmosphere prevents the emission of heat from Earth to space. I already explained this one. Right? Part of the sun's heat is trapped inside the atmosphere. And that amount of heat which is trapped in the atmosphere is very important to maintain life. Right? So the atmosphere keeps our Earth in warmer condition. Look at this. This is very interesting. The moon has no atmosphere. Therefore, the moon is very hot during the daytime and very cold during the night time. Right? So during the night time, even though there's no sunlight to provide heat to the Earth, the atmosphere can trap a certain amount of heat it receives during the daytime and it can use that heat during the night time. Right, children? But the moon doesn't have an atmosphere. Therefore, during the daytime, it's very hot. During the night time, it's very cold. Right, children? So, number 6. The hydrological cycle. Hydrological cycle, what is hydrological cycle, children? Water cycle, right? Do you remember we learned about this water cycle before? Even in grade 6, we learned about the water cycle. Do you remember what water cycle is? Here in the water cycle, we explain that water present in the earth, it circulates, right? So how does this happen? You all know during the daytime, due to sun's heat, right? Water evaporates from the water bodies, and this step is known as evaporation. This step is known as evaporation, right? And at the same time, during the daytime, the plants get heated up and plants remove its water as water vapor, and this process is known as transpiration. Transpiration. So because of evaporation and transpiration, the atmosphere gets water vapor. Water vapor. Right? So then water vapor, what happens in the upper part of the atmosphere? Now the lower part of the atmosphere gets heated up. The troposphere gets heated up because of the Earth's temperature, Earth's high temperature, Earth's heat. When the Earth gets heated up, lower part of the troposphere also gets heated up. But when this water vapor goes up, as the upper part of the troposphere is cooler than that of this lower part, what happens, children? This water vapor cools down and it forms clouds. Right? And this process is known as condensation. Condensation. Right? When clouds more and more water droplets, what happens at one point when the cloud has maximum water droplets, it pours down as rain, and this is known as precipitation. And this water comes down as rain. Some of them flows to the water bodies again. right? Some of them flows to the water bodies again. Some of them go and deposit in the lower part of the ground. That water is known as underground water, right? So this underground water is again absorbed by plants. This is known as absorption. This is known as surface flow, right? So in this way, you all can see water moves in the earth as a cycle, right? So the absorbed water during transpiration turns into water vapor, right? So the surface water that flows to these water bodies, again during evaporation, it turns to water vapor, right? Water vapor again, due to condensation, it forms clouds, and when there are small water droplets in the clouds, what happens? It again comes down as rain or precipitation. So the same thing goes on. So to continue this cycle, the presence of the atmosphere is very important, right, children? So here, the hydrological cycle is very important for the existence of living beings. Water vapor in the atmosphere is very essential for the maintenance of the hydrological cycle, right? Because of the water vapor, this is a component of the atmosphere. Because of this water vapor present in the atmosphere, only if there is adequate amounts of water vapor, cloud formation will happen, right? If there's no water vapor, no clouds will form. If there's no clouds, no precipitation, no rains, we will not get rain, right? Therefore, it disturbs the water cycle, right, children? Therefore, the presence of water vapor in the atmosphere is very, very important in order to maintain this water cycle, right, children? So the next one, number 7. The atmosphere helps birds and some insects to fly through the atmosphere. The medium, as a medium, it's very important. Okay, children, birds and some insects to fly as a medium, atmosphere is very important, right? Next one, number 8. It supports communication among people. Do you remember in the 11th lesson, under the sound lesson, we learned that sound waves will not travel without a medium. We learned this even during the Bell Jar experiment, right? For the sound waves to travel, there must be a medium. Okay, without a medium, sound waves will not travel from one place to another place. Therefore, for communication among people, right, when we talk to each other, our sound waves go across the atmosphere through the air and reaches the other one's ears, right? Okay, so it supports communication among people, right, children? Right, number 9. The atmosphere protects the earth from meteors. This is also very important, right? Meteors, these type of certain celestial bodies, right? Certain parts in the space. Sometimes when the meteors, when they reach the earth, according to the gravity of the earth, they will enter the earth's atmosphere. Some of these meteors are huge. Some of them are small particles. However, now if you consider this is the earth and this is the atmosphere, you all know that atmosphere contains air particles. When you consider the space, there is no air particles, right? So when these meteors enters the earth's gravity, earth's atmosphere, what happens, children? So when this meteor enters the atmosphere, what happens? As the atmosphere contains air particles, when this meteor moves at high speed, these air particles and the meteor rub with each other and friction is formed, right? Friction is formed, and because of the friction, heat is produced, and because of the heat, this meteor on its way, it catches fire and it burns out. What will happen if there was no atmosphere? Even the biggest meteors, without burning, when it all the time meteors will come to the earth and we will get harmed. Right, children? So the atmosphere protects the earth from meteors. Meteors falling onto the earth from space get heated and burned. It gets heated up because of the friction among the meteor and the air particles in the atmosphere. Right? Space get heated and burned in the atmosphere. If meteors fall onto earth, it will damage many lives. Only if it's a really large meteor, if it doesn't have enough time to finish burning on the way, it will reach, part of it will reach the earth. Otherwise, the small meteors that enters the earth, it will not fall on the earth. On the way, it will burn up. Right, children? So sometimes these large number of meteors will enter the Earth's atmosphere at once, and these are known as meteor showers. Some of you must have seen meteor showers in the real life or even in videos. Now for the ones who haven't seen meteor showers, I'm going to show you all a small video clip. Right, children. I hope you enjoyed that video. Right. So we discussed what are the functions of the atmosphere. Shall we go from the beginning, children? Right. So functions of the atmosphere. The atmosphere provides the oxygen needed for the respiration of all animals and plants. Right. Plants get carbon dioxide from the atmosphere for photosynthesis. Nitrogen, which is a very important element for the growth of plants, is provided to the soil by the atmosphere. Heat, light, and ultraviolet rays of the sun fall on Earth through the atmosphere. The ozone layer protects the Earth from exposure to these harmful rays. Okay? Number 5. The atmosphere prevents the emission of heat from Earth to space. So the atmosphere keeps our Earth in warmer condition. The moon has no atmosphere, therefore the moon is very hot during the daytime and very cold during the night time. The hydrological cycle is very important for the existence of living beings. Water vapor in the atmosphere is very essential for the maintenance of the hydrological cycle. The atmosphere helps birds and some insects to fly. It supports communication among people. The atmosphere protects the earth from meteors. Right? Meteors falling onto the earth from space get heated and burned in the atmosphere. If meteors fall onto earth, it will damage many lives if all the meteors falls onto earth. Right, children? So I hope you understood the importance of the atmosphere or the functions of the atmosphere. Right? We have this assignment to do. Use the above facts and make a report of the problems that may occur on the earth. If the atmosphere is disappeared instantly, what will happen? Now, even earlier I explained, if the atmosphere disappeared, number 1, we all can't live without oxygen. We all will die in a few minutes. Okay, children? You all will die because of no oxygen to breathe. Right? And what will happen? Number 2, we will not get carbon dioxide. Without carbon dioxide, can plants do photosynthesis? No. Right? Plants cannot do photosynthesis without carbon dioxide. Okay, children? And if there's no atmosphere, can we communicate easily? No. We will have to make like special changes in order to communicate with air, right? Because of the presence of air particles, we can easily talk to each other and we can hear each other very clearly, right? So those type of difficulties, whatever you learned here as a list, you have to write the opposite of these things that you learned here when you make this report. It's very easy, right? I'll write a few for you. You have to do the rest by yourselves, okay? So the atmosphere provides oxygen needed for the respiration of all animals and plants, right? So what is the major problem? If the atmosphere disappeared instantly, we will not have oxygen for respiration, right? We will not have oxygen for respiration. Right? Next one, no carbon dioxide. Dioxide for photosynthesis. write one more. Cannot communicate with each other. Right, children? So you can go through the previous list and make your own list here according to this report. Okay? So use the above facts and make a report of the problems that may occur on the earth if the atmosphere has disappeared instantly. We all will die anyway without oxygen. Right, children? So we'll move on to the next. So we have another assignment to do. Now, you all have to do this assignment before me. So when I explain, that is a concept map that you have to fill. So you have to fill this concept map, and when I explain, check whether your answers are correct. This is actually what we learned here. Everything is given here. Almost everything is given here. So this is a kind of a short note. Okay. So check whether you can do this before me, and when I explain, try to understand this. Okay. Right. So what we have to do here, assignment. Following is a concept map prepared by some grade 7 students about the atmosphere. Right. Fill in the blanks using the given words. What are the words? Pressure, stratosphere, mesosphere, atmosphere, nitrogen, troposphere, oxygen, thermosphere, exosphere, temperature. Right? Okay. So the same set of words are given here. Let's see how to do this one. So this should be the major one. Right? This should be the major one. Two main gases divided. What is divided? What did we learn about in this lesson? About the atmosphere. This must be the atmosphere. Let's check whether, yes, here the atmosphere word is present. So we can write here atmosphere. Atmosphere. So we use that word. Atmosphere contains two main gases. What are the two main gases? The most abundant gas is nitrogen. The second most abundant gas is oxygen. Right? So here we have nitrogen. Here we have oxygen. Two main gases are nitrogen and oxygen. Right? An atmosphere divided on the variation into these layers. Atmosphere is divided into 5 layers. Why do we divide it? Because according to its altitude, 2 factors are changed. What are they? Pressure and temperature. Right? On the variations of the following 2 factors. What are the 2 factors again? Pressure and temperature. Okay? Pressure and temperature. Temperature. Divided into these layers, 5 layers. But when you write these layers, you have to consider about this. Look at on this arrow, it's written altitude is reduced. When from up to down, altitude is reduced. What is the meaning of altitude again? Altitude means the height from the sea level. Right? Height from the sea level. So if you consider, this is the earth and these are the 5 layers. Right? From the sea level, altitude is lowest in the first layer. What is the first layer? Troposphere. Right? So altitude is reduced means here you have to write the layer with the highest altitude, here with the lowest altitude. Right? The layer with the highest altitude is this outermost layer, that is the exosphere. Exosphere. So the next layer, below exosphere, what is present, children? Thermosphere. Below the thermosphere, the middle layer is known as mesosphere. And below mesosphere, what is present? Stratosphere, where the ozone layer present. Stratosphere. And the lowest altitude is present in the lowest layer, troposphere. Right? So as I told you all, this is a nice short note. Okay, children? So you see stratosphere, all these, mesosphere, all the terms present here. Right? So the atmosphere has two main gases, nitrogen and oxygen. Atmosphere is divided on the variations of pressure and temperature. It's divided into 5 layers according to the order that altitude is reduced: exosphere, thermosphere, mesosphere, stratosphere, and troposphere. Right, children? I hope you all got this correct. Okay, children? So now we'll move on to the next part of the lesson. Right, children. So this is the last topic of the lesson, air pollution. So under this one, we are going to learn what is air pollution, what are the ways that air pollution takes place, and how to minimize air pollution. Okay. So now we all know that air or atmosphere is very important for all of us to live. Right. So what is air pollution? Because of air pollution, now you all have earlier learned about environmental pollution. Because of the pollution, we can't use that certain factor anymore as we used before. Let's see, air pollution. Air pollution is adding substances to the atmosphere, changing its composition, and causing harmful effects on organisms. So when we learn about the composition, I explained you all the composition of the atmosphere changes from place to place, right? But the average composition, we learned about 78% of the atmosphere contains nitrogen gas, 21% contains oxygen, and the other 1% carbon dioxide and other gases, right? But sometimes these amounts will drastically change so that we will face so many problems, and this is known as the atmospheric or air pollution. Right, children? So, adding substances to atmosphere, changing its composition, and causing harmful effects on organisms is known as air pollution. Very simply, air becomes unsuitable for consumption, which means to inhale. Right? Air becomes unsuitable for consumption. Okay? So the substances that cause air pollution, these are the substances that cause pollution, are known as pollutants. So there are two types of air pollutants. What are they? The substances that cause air pollution can be divided into two groups, right? Gaseous pollutants, particulate pollution. Some of these pollutants added to the atmosphere, to the air as gas particles. And some of them added as particles, okay, particulate nature, right? Tiny other particles, which means solid particles and droplets, okay? So we separate them, gaseous pollutants, right? Harmful gases that added to the atmosphere and harmful particles that added to the atmosphere. Here liquid droplets and solid particles both are counted, okay? So what are the gaseous pollutants? Gaseous pollutants basically carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a gas emitted from some vehicles, some old vehicles. Carbon monoxide is basically emitted due to partial combustion of fuel. When the fuel, any kind of fuel, when they don't completely burn, when it partially burns, carbon monoxide is produced. Okay? And sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide released from some factories, and during volcanic eruption also sulfur dioxide gas is released to the atmosphere. Okay? And nitrogen dioxide. So we can simply say nitrogen oxide gases. There are different types of gases that form when nitrogen is added, combined with oxygen in different ways. Nitrous oxide, nitrogen dioxide, likewise. Therefore, we can write nitrogen oxide gases. Okay, nitrogen oxide gases. Nitrous oxide, nitrogen dioxide are some examples. Okay, children, so these are present as gaseous pollutants. These all are gases. These are the main gases that pollute the environment. Apart from this one, some other gases like chlorofluorocarbon, which is simply known as CFC. That is also one other example, right? So from these body sprays and all, sometimes this chlorofluorocarbon is given to the atmosphere, right? So this type of chlorofluorocarbon can harm the ozone layer. We will write that also. Chlorofluorocarbon, CFC. Likewise, there are some other trace amounts of other pollutants too, gaseous pollutants too, but these are the main things. These three are the main three gases that pollute the air, right? What about the particulate pollutants? The pollutants that present as particles? Carbon particles. Carbon particles. Lead particles present. And cement particles. Unburned fuel particles. Asbestos particles. Insecticide droplets. Likewise. Right, so these are some of the particulate pollutants. Okay, children, carbon particles, lead particles, cement particles, unburnt fuel particles, asbestos particles, and insecticide droplets. Okay, so air pollution is adding substances to the atmosphere in unnecessary amounts, right? Change in its composition, because when extra amounts of some other substances are added, it disturbs the original composition of the atmosphere. 78% of nitrogen, 21% of oxygen, and 1% of the other gases. Here what happens, that 1% increases and it takes up the space of the other important gases too, right? The substances that cause air pollution can be divided into two groups: gaseous pollutants and particulate pollutants, right? Gaseous pollutants, the three main pollutants are carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxide gases. It's a group of gases, right? And apart from that, CFC. Okay? Particulate pollutants, carbon particles, lead particles, cement particles, unburned fuel particles, asbestos particles, insecticide particles, etc. Right, children? So when air contains all these things, you can imagine when these harmful things, when we inhale, we take this air into our body, and animals too. So you can imagine what will happen when we inhale these type of harmful substances and when they enter our body. Right, children? Right, we'll move on to the next activity we have to do. After traveling in a bus, clean your face with a white handkerchief. What can you see? Some of you must have experienced this very well, right? When you travel long distances in a bus without AC. So air-conditioned vehicles, when we travel in air-conditioned vehicles, we close all the shutters and doors, and therefore outside air will not enter the vehicle, right? So those type of vehicles, you cannot experience this. Let's say that some of you must have traveled long distances in a bus, just a normal bus without air condition. In that case, you have to open the shutters and travel, right? So after traveling few hours, when you come home and when you clean your face, try to, if you experience this type of thing, sometimes when you go on trips and all, you might experience, right? So you can clean your face with a white handkerchief. As I told you all, some of you must have experienced this. What can you see? You will see when you wipe off your face and even the ear with a white color or light colored handkerchief, you will clearly see that it gets dark in color, right? Black in color sometimes, right? You can see all the dirt comes to the handkerchief. What is the reason? This happens because of particulate pollutants. All the particles come in because of the air pollution, because of the particulate pollutions, they will come and deposit on your skin, and when you wipe it off with a handkerchief, you can clearly see all these dust and dirt particles. Okay, children? So after traveling in a bus, clean your face with a white handkerchief. What can you see? You will see the handkerchief gets black color, dark color. This happens because of the particulate pollutants. Right, children? We'll move on to the next. Right. So some ways of air pollution. What are the different ways? Some ways are given here. There are many other ways. Okay, children? These are the major ways of air pollution, right? So here you can see combustion of fuels in because of emissions from vehicles. Combustion of fuels in vehicles. Different particles and different gases get added. Carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, okay children, carbon monoxide get added, okay. Combustion of fuel in vehicles. Then, what is this? These are the factories. Again, fuels are used in factories too. Combustion of fuels in factories. Combustion of fuel in factories. Sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide are released during these combustion of fuels in factories. Okay, sometimes carbon particles, right? Lead particles. What is this? This is a thermal power plant. Emissions from thermal power plant, right? Emissions from thermal power plants. Thermal power plants. So when we use in certain thermal power plants, in order to generate electricity, coal is used, right? Coal, when we burn coal, sometimes unburned sulfur particles could get added to the environment. Okay, children? So, what is this? Burning of waste. Burning of waste materials, right? Especially plastic and polythene. When we burn plastic and polythene, toxic substances get added to the environment. Therefore, we should not burn polythene and plastic. Instead, we have to recycle them, children. There are different ways to change them in different ways without burning them, right? So, especially polythene and plastic, when you burn, harmful or toxic gases get added to the environment. What is this? Volcanic eruptions. This is something we cannot control very easily, right? We cannot control volcanic eruptions, but basically carbon dioxide gas, sulfur dioxide gas, and even water vapor gets added to the atmosphere because of volcanic eruptions, okay? Volcanic eruptions. What is this, children? Cutting down trees or deforestation, destroying forests, okay? Deforestation. How does this affect the change of composition of the atmosphere, children? You all know during photosynthesis, the carbon dioxide gas is absorbed by the plants, right? And as a byproduct, oxygen gas is released to the environment. This oxygen gas is essential for the respiration of organisms. So when you cut down trees, what will happen, children? The production of oxygen or releasing oxygen from the trees will reduced, and therefore it will affect the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere. It will get reduced. Okay, children. Therefore, deforestation is also another major way of air pollution. Right? So air pollution means change in the composition of atmosphere. Right? So here, without releasing oxygen, it will change the composition of the atmosphere. Therefore, it's not always adding substances. Right? Removing the vital substances from the environment is also counted as pollution. Okay? Right. So, assignment is given here. A green test must be done for a vehicle to get it licensed. Right? In this test, the particles in the emitted smoke of the vehicle is tested. Find out what are the particles tested in the green test and record your details. So you can find out details from if you can ask your parents if they use a vehicle, they know how to get this certificate. Okay, and at the same time you can Google it. And now, what are the actually particles tested in the green test, children? You must have seen sometimes these very old vehicles, they emit smoke, black color smoke, right? The smoke is very black in color because of particulate pollutants present in the smoke, okay? So, basically in green test, they check whether carbon monoxide is there. Let's write. They check whether carbon monoxide is there. Carbon monoxide is there, they check. And also they check whether hydrocarbons, unburned carbon particles and hydrocarbons are there, which means unburned fuel particles as well. Hydrocarbons. Right? What else? They do this test called smoke opacity. What is this smoke opacity? Smoke opacity. Opacity. Opaque objects. You all know that air is supposed to be transparent. Right? Okay. So air becomes opaque. Now transparent means you can see through a certain thing. Opaque means you cannot see through that thing. Opacity means if the smoke gets very black in color, what happens, children? You cannot see through that. Okay, there's a certain instrument that you can check the smoke opacity. So using the smoke opacity, we can get an idea how much of these particulate pollutants present in the vehicle smoke. This is specifically done for diesel vehicles because diesel vehicles most of the time emit this black smoke. Okay, so if it's too dark, which means its opacity is higher, it's more opaque, its opacity is higher, which means it contains more unburnt particles, more particulate pollutants. Okay, children, so we can get an idea how much your vehicle troubles the environment, how much it emits harmful substances to the environment. Okay, children, so it's very important to get this test rightly done. Okay, some people, they just don't get this test done properly, right? But it's a very important factor to get your vehicle tested for this green test, so that if there's anything, let's say that if there's a problem in your engine, if you fail the smoke opacity test, sometimes when you tune the engine, right? If there's a breakdown, when you tune the engine, sometimes you can correct some of these problems. In that case, these vehicles will not emit harmful substances to the environment anymore. And at the same time, if the vehicles are too old, if it's too old, it's advised to remove them, not to use them, because it's a threat to the environment. It's not just one vehicle, children. There are so many vehicles, and if they all emit these harmful substances, it's a big threat to the environment and for all the living beings. Right, children? So you can find more information from the internet. You can ask the people who know. You can even visit a place as a group activity at school, as a field visit. You can even visit a place where do they do this test, and you can get more information from them. Okay, children? We move on to the next. Right. Some adverse effects of air pollution. Okay, let's say we have done, when we were in our lower grades also, we have done the harmful effects of air pollution or the other environmental pollution as well. Okay, climatic changes on the earth. Let's say that basically because of cutting down trees or deforestation, what happens, children? Now you all know that when there are trees, during photosynthesis, they take carbon dioxide in and then they release oxygen, right? Therefore, carbon dioxide must be there in the environment to trap heat coming from the sun. It is very important to presence of carbon dioxide. But what do you think will happen if too much of carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere? It will trap more and more heat coming from the sun, and therefore the Earth's temperature will unnecessarily increase. This is known as global warming, right? The main gas in the atmosphere that causes global warming is carbon dioxide gas. At the same time, in order to maintain an optimum temperature in the Earth, the gas which is very important is also carbon dioxide gas. But too much of carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere is very harmful. It can increase the temperature of the Earth drastically, and that's very harmful. Okay, children? Therefore, then what will happen? Climatic changes. When the temperature highly increases, it will definitely affect the water cycle. Because of very high temperature, water bodies will dry up, right? Cloud formation will be reduced. Therefore, we will not get rains for long time periods. Okay, so we will experience droughts, climatic changes of wind patterns as well. Right, children? So climatic changes on Earth because of air pollution. Wide variety of health problems related to the respiratory system. So when you inhale this polluted air, you get different diseases, especially diseases related to your respiratory system. Right? When you inhale air with asbestos particles for a long time, you might get cancers in the lungs. Okay, children? Right. Acid rain. What is the meaning of acid rain, children? So remember, I explained you all under the gaseous pollutants, I explained you all about 3 different types of gases. What are they? Carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide gases, and sulfur dioxide. So remember, when a lot of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide gases present in the atmosphere, nitrogen oxide gases. Here also I will write sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide gases in the atmosphere. When a lot of these type of gases present in the atmosphere, what will happen? When it rains, these gases will dissolve in rainwater. When sulfur dioxide gas dissolves in rainwater, it produces sulfuric acid, right? When nitrogen oxide gases dissolve in rainwater, it produces nitric acid. So the rain becomes acidic. This type of rain is known as acid rains. So if a certain area has a lot of sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide gases in the atmosphere, when it rains continuously, what happens? The rainwater always gets acidic, and so the people, animals, plants, right, present in that environment, that particular area with acid rains will get highly affected. Not only that, even the vehicles like metal structures, buildings as well. Okay, children? So formation of acid rains occurs basically because of these 2 gases, which are considered as gaseous pollutants. Okay, children? Next one. Increase of temperature in the atmosphere. Again, I explained you all, this happens basically because of a large amount of carbon dioxide present. But there are other gases also. When there's too much of water vapor present in the atmosphere, that also can trap a certain amount of heat. Right? Methane gas is another example. Okay? So increase of temperature in the atmosphere also takes place because of air pollution, because of change of the composition of air. Right? Reduction of the clarity and transparency of the air because of smoke released by vehicles, factories and other buildings, the clear nature, the clarity of the air changes. Air becomes very smoky, right? The transparency of the air, right? The clarity and transparency of the air takes place. Okay, children? So these are some of the adverse effects of air pollution. Okay, so how to overcome these problems, children? How to minimize these effects? Let's see some precautions that can be taken to minimize air pollution. As much as we have to stop burning fossil fuels, because burning fossil fuels emit a large amount of carbon dioxide gas and carbon and sulfur particles too. Okay, tune the vehicle engines. Even earlier I explained, when the vehicles get older, it cannot burn the amount of fuels present in it completely. Partial combustion takes place. Because of that, a lot of carbon monoxide gas is released, which is a pollutant. Okay, tune the vehicle engines, right? Minimize the combustion of fossil fuel. So basically we use fossil fuels in our vehicles, petrol, diesel, right? So instead we can use public transport methods. Okay, so minimize the combustion of fossil fuel. On the other hand, most of the countries, they use fossil fuels in order to generate electricity. So we can switch to other methods of generating electricity, like solar energy. Environmental pollution is minimized there. Wind energy also, environmental pollution is minimized. Likewise, eco-friendly methods of generating power, right? Use eco-friendly energy sources, the same thing I explained. Release the fumes of factories through a filter. So I earlier explained you all, these sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide gases are basically released by factories. Okay, children? So without releasing them directly to the environment, using special types of filters, we can keep those, we can trap those harmful gases and release the other just smoke to the environment without releasing those harmful gases, right? Okay, so release the fumes of factories through a filter. Recycle the waste without burning, especially plastic and polythene. When you burn them, toxic gases get added to the atmosphere, and when you inhale it, it's very bad for our health. Okay, so recycle them. There are places that those collect these type of polythene and plastic, and we can get rid of those type of polythene and plastic very easily by giving to those people, right? Protect the forest. Reduce deforestation and reforestation, making new forest, growing more trees. If you cut one tree, you have to plant at least 2 trees, 2 plants. Right, children? So we have to, at times, we have to cut trees for other purposes to get wood and all. In that case, we have to make sure we grow at least 2 more plants. Right, children? So reforestation, when there's more plant cover, they will give a lot of oxygen. More oxygen means the air gets purified. And at the same time, excess carbon dioxide also will be absorbed by the plants for photosynthesis. Therefore, carbon dioxide problem also will be minimized. Okay, children. So these are some of the methods that we can use to minimize the air pollution. Right, children? Okay. So the last part. There are artificial respiratory chambers in some cities to facilitate respiration where there is air pollution. Right? Cities that are highly polluted, time to time people can go and get pure air, and they can inhale pure air and come. So these are known as artificial respiratory chambers. Okay, children? Therefore, it is our duty to protect the atmosphere. Atmosphere is a very important resource. So it provides us many things. There are so many uses of the atmosphere, right? Therefore, as a resource, we have to protect the atmosphere. So lesson is completed. Let's go see summary to check what we have done so far. Right? The temperature and the pressure changes from the surface of the earth to the upper atmosphere. Depending on these changes, the atmosphere is divided into 5 layers. What are the 5 layers? Troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere are the 5 layers of the atmosphere. Right? So troposphere present closest to the Earth, and the outermost layer is the exosphere. Right? Atmosphere protects the Earth and the living beings on it from the external dangers. We learn how it protects us. Right? Nitrogen and oxygen are the main components in the troposphere. And the gases in the atmosphere help man in many ways. We learn all those methods. Right? Air pollution is a problem that affects all of us, and further we learn how to minimize air pollution too. So I hope you got a better understanding on this lesson. So in the next chapter, we are going to do the exercise. So before you go to that chapter, make sure you do all the questions by yourself. So then you can watch that video and you can check whether the answers done by you is correct or not.
To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.